Hi there, my name is Tara Leslie, and I'm the course coordinator for Pharm515. In this short video, I'm going to be going over the two assignments for this course. The first assignment is the placement proposal, and it is required for all Pharm515 placements. So if you're choosing to do two Pharm515s, please note that you will need to do this assignment once for each of those placements, so a total of twice. It includes a learning plan. It's due prior to the start of the placement, and the template is available for you in eClass. The second assignment is participation in the Continuing Competence Program of the Alberta College of Pharmacists. Again, it's required for all Pharm515 placements, and this one is due at the end of the placement. Looking at the first assignment, the placement proposal, it's comprised of 4 different parts. The first part, or Part A, is the general information. Here you're asked to outline the name of the placement, the site, including the address, the name and contact information of your primary preceptor or co-preceptors, and then to describe the placement. So if this placement already had a site description, you can just tick the box for See Site Description. If not, please provide an overview of the placement in 200 words or less. Part B, or the second part of the placement proposal, is the schedule. If you're going to be doing your placement over a standardized block, so full-time over 6 weeks in a standard block, you can tick the first box there and just indicate what block it's happening in. However, if you're choosing to do a modified schedule, it needs to be detailed here. The start date, the end date, any breaks in between, the days of work, and the hours of the placement. The third part is the bulk of this assignment. It's the learning plan. And you'll find that it's very similar to the learning plan for Pharm511 to 514. There's 5 columns. All 3 of the first 3 columns need to be completed prior to the start of the placement. In the first column, we're looking for your learning goals. So think about what it is that you want to learn in this placement. The second one are the objectives. So how are you going to meet your learning goals? This is where you can identify some key assignments or projects or learning activities that you will complete or deliver to your preceptor in order to meet the learning goals that you want to get out of the placement. It's important to distinguish between these two. The goals is really about the knowledge or the skill that you hope to develop, whereas the objectives, you're mapping out what it is that you're going to specifically do to meet those learning goals. In the third column, we're thinking about indicators of progress. So think about what it is that you will be looking for to help identify whether you're meeting your learning goals or not. So are you going to be seeking feedback from certain individuals? Are you going to be partaking in some self-reflective exercises? And if so, what are they? Do you have certain deadlines that you need to meet in order to know that you're on track to meet your goals and objectives? These are the kinds of things that you want to list in this section. The fourth column is what needs to be completed at the midpoint, and the fifth column is what needs to be completed at the final. So after 120 hours or 3 weeks, you can complete the midpoint column. Firstly, for each learning goal, you're going to summarize how you think your progress is going and what key achievements you've made. And then in that second part there, the self-assessment rating, you're going to rate yourself as to whether you think you're meeting the expectations of progress and learning, or whether you need improvement. The same principles apply for the last column for the progress at final. Again, you're going to summarize whether you met your learning objectives and how, and then provide yourself with a rating. The last part of the placement proposal is the participation in ACP, Continuing Competence Program, which is basically just making a plan for how you're going to complete assignment number 2, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. One of those learning goals you want to use for a learning record and an implementation record, and all I'm asking you to do here is to think about which one of these goals might best suit that assignment. Please know that it's fluid. You can change it if you want to later on, but it's just to get you thinking. Here's a timeline for the placement proposal. We want to provide plenty of time for you to refine your learning plan. So 1 month prior to the placement proposal deadline, so the deadline with which you need to submit it through eClass to me, you should have a draft completed and sent to your preceptor. Once you send the draft, the preceptor will hopefully provide you with some feedback to help you refine your goals and objectives. They may provide suggestions on additional learning activities or may talk about ways that you can either make your learning goals or objectives more realistic if they are too big, or perhaps more complex if they find them too simplistic. In the second row, the proposal pre-placement deadline, those are the dates that your placement proposal needs to be submitted via eClass. It is dependent on the block. Once it's submitted through eClass, I will review it and provide you with some feedback as well. And I try and do that as quickly as possible so that you can incorporate my feedback as well before submitting a finalized version to your preceptor a minimum of 3 weeks prior to the start date. At 120 hours or halfway through the placement, you're going to complete the progress at midpoint column and then share it with your preceptor and have a discussion about it. At the end of the placement, you'll complete the final column and discuss it with your preceptor. And in addition, you're going to upload it to eClass as a finalized placement proposal. The second assignment is completing a learning record and an implementation record in your continuing competence program with Alberta College of Pharmacists. As you all know, this is a mandatory requirement for clinical pharmacist license renewal. And because Pharm515 is the elective where you can choose a placement that really speaks to something that you want to learn about or a professional interest, it's a great opportunity to connect these two expectations. At the end of your Pharm515 placement, you will be expected to complete one learning record and one implementation record through your portal. Now, obviously, there's no way for me to check that this has been done through the portal, but we are hopeful that you will follow through with this as it does have benefits for you as well. What I do ask, though, is that whatever documentation or presentation or care plan that you use for your evidence of implementation, take a copy of that and also upload it into eClass. If you find this to be too difficult, then instead you could take a copy of the implementation record that you entered and upload that into eClass instead. If you happen to be a newly graduated pharmacist or perhaps are from another province, you may not be all that familiar with this program. I've just provided here on this slide some resources that you can access, and ACP does have some information to help you navigate the system if you haven't before. In fact, they even have a tutorial to teach you all about it. And here's the website here that you can access the tutorial to learn more about this program. For deadlines, you are expected to submit the learning record and implementation record prior to the last day of your placement. Then please upload your evidence of implementation, whatever that documentation may be, into eClass within 5 calendar days at the end of the placement. It is required for grade assignment. I cannot issue your grades until this is completed. If there's a long lag time in you providing this assignment, I will provide you with a grade of incomplete until it is finished. If you don't yet have a CCP portal, or perhaps you had one but no longer do, there is a template in the Pharm515 Resources Gateway, and you can use that and do it as a written assignment instead. Please keep in mind, though, that if you're doing Pharm515 in Block 4 or around the time of Block 4, this is when the continuing education calendar changes. So you need to make sure that your learning record and your implementation record fall within the same CE calendar. So please either do both of them before June 1st or both of them after June 1st. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, please email me at tleslie1@ualberta.ca. Thank you.